Hello, and welcome to a bonus episode of the Wanderlust Wealth Show. Today we have a special guest, Devlin. She is a student of the Wanderlust Wealth Academy and is a former elementary music teacher and is now a current grant writer and soon to be rental property owner, which is so exciting. She actually joined WWA and was under contract within 2 months of joining the community, even though when she joined, she was like, I'm not going to actually buy something for until the next summer. So like 7 or 8 months later. But Devlin, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
I love this. So Devlin, it was so funny. I just am always inspired by your journey because literally when you joined, you were like, and also to be fair, when you joined the Wanderlust Wealth Academy, was just going to be like, a 2-month boot camp, basically 8 weeks. So I don't think you really had any expectations that you would be
No,
buying a property. So tell
no.
me, talk to me a little bit about how that journey actually went.
Oh, it was a whirlwind. So, well, first of all, how I found you in the first place, is like through my sister who makes the dog leashes and collars. And you bought some leashes and stuff from her several years ago. And she was like, you have to follow Olivia on Instagram. So I started following you several years ago. Yeah, I just thought what you were doing was super cool, but I never thought like I could do that. And then whenever you started coming out with your academy, it was like in a big transition part of my life. So we had just moved to Florida. We had only been here for like 3 to 4 months. And we were still settling in. I was in my new job as a grant writer. It just came to me at a time where I was like kind of in limbo, anyways. And I was like, you know what? Like, if I can make this happen, like, now's the time. And
Yes.
so, yeah. So, yeah, I set up on your, you had like a Black Friday promotion going on.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I set up a one-on-one call with you. And then, yeah, I went from there. And it's just like spiraled from there.
Oh my gosh. Well, no, and I literally remember too because you were like the first people to book, like the second, I think you were on like the wait list or whatever, and you were like
Mhm.
one of the first people I remember seeing book a call. I was like, oh, people are booking. How fabulous.
Yes.
That was awesome. The funny thing too was I know you had to go and like talk to your husband about it just to make sure that it was the right time to join. So like what was that conversation you had with your husband?
It's really funny because we're both from Arkansas. We're from like 20 minutes away from each other, but I have always been like travel is a huge part of my like life and like what I want in life. And he didn't grow up with that so much. And so recently, actually, like probably the last 4 years or so, he's been more and more like, oh, like we can do this, like we can make this happen. And he's seeing ways for us to like make traveling happen more often and like moving's not such a big deal and stuff like that. And so, yeah, when I went to him and told him about just the opportunity and like real estate in general and like what we could get into, he was like, if you think we can make it work, he was like, I'm fully supportive. And so, yeah, he was on board. I just, ever since he's kind of started seeing what is possible out of life, it doesn't have to be his 8 to 4 job. And so, yeah, it was just me telling him about another way that we could potentially get the life we want. And he was like all about it.
I
So,
love that so much. And so, when you joined, as I was saying before, it was an 8-week boot camp. And then you kind of saw me transition it into now it's like this full, like year-long thing. Basically, you guys are in
yeah.
it and you guys get to be a part of it. And you've kind of seen the journey too. But, I remember even in January of this year, you were like, oh, we probably won't buy until the summer. So I guess what was that switch for you? Like, what was that thing that made you kind of jump and suddenly you were like seeing 4 property. I was like, what is happening?
Yeah. So a big part of it was the finance, like that I thought we weren't going to be ready until the summer. And also, we have only been in the house that I'm in right now since June of 2023. So I was thinking we needed to wait until June of 2024 in order to make that possible. But yeah, so I ended up finding out, I talked to my like loan officer and several people and found out that that's not the case. I didn't necessarily have to be in this house until June of 24. So that was one thing. And then the other thing, I think You put it in your email. I was so happy when I saw your email that went out to everyone. But yeah, like realizing what wasn't standing in my way. And I was like, money, I thought it was like such a thing. And like when I really broke it down and budgeted everything out and got like the approvals and stuff, I was like, okay, no, this is very doable with where we're at right now. And it's like actually kind of comfortably doable. Like we're not gonna be stressed right away. So it turned out a lot better than I thought.
I love that. Well, and it's so true though, because until we actually like, that's why I tell all of y'all, right? First thing, look at your budget. Second thing, get pre approved, right? Because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the time we just kind of have this block in the back of our heads that's like, well, we can't do this. We have to wait. And the same thing happened to me when I first got my property. I remember I was still in credit card debt and I was working on paying it off. And my lender just kept telling me, go get pre approved, go get pre approved. And so one day I was looking at properties and I wanted to put an offer in. And so I just decided to get pre approved. And when I got pre approved for a good amount, I was like, oh, wait, I could actually buy this like tomorrow. What?
Yeah. That's pretty much it. That's what happened.
And it's like, it's so important to kind of like take those small steps in the right direction. You don't have to have it all figured out right this second, but you just taking those small steps every single like bit of the way kind of got you through that.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things that I finally had to be like, well, even if now doesn't turn out to be the time, like what's the worst that happens? I just don't move forward with it. It's like there's no critical damage that's done by getting pre-approved or by taking those steps.
Exactly.
So,
And a lot of people are afraid because, for some lenders, they'll do a credit pull, but like it literally drops your credit score by like 4 or 5 points. It's not going to change the world. It's
well,
not that big of a deal.
and mine, the one that I ended up going with, he actually did, he didn't do a credit pull until like significantly later. He did like a
Soft pull.
informal kind of, yeah. And he talked to me on the phone and did like a phone interview and filled out
Yeah.
all his paperwork. So he actually didn't pull it until we were like closer to the actual deal.
Completely. And so another thing that I remember you saying in like our messages is, you've been kind of part of the coaching program. So you've been the one who's been almost spearheading it to some sort of extent, right? Like you've been coming to you're so attentive during all of the coaching programs, always asking your questions and things like that. But something I thought was funny is you said that your husband was seeing this kind of from a distance and was, shocked by how everything just kind of unfolded. So what was that
Yep.
experience like? Like, why did he say that?
Yeah, so it was seriously just, I mean, okay, I don't want to make everything sound like it was super easy because it wasn't necessarily, because like we did have to go see like, I want to say we saw 10 or 12 houses. Like
Mm-hmm.
we saw a lot. We put in offers on like 6. Like it's not like it was just like one and done. But once we did get the deal or like kind of start working with the people that on a house, the one that we're closing on, everything just started lining up so smoothly. And yeah, so he was just like, okay, we went from we're gonna wait until June, and then I moved it up to April before that actually. So I was like slowly, I was like, okay, we're waiting to June, and then I was like, okay, I think we could actually do April, and then all of a sudden it was like February. And we were like, let's do it. So yeah, we got it done in February. We had a 60-day closing, or have a 60-day closing. And just it ended up working out really well with like the person who's selling and their situation, and us not being reliant on selling a house in order to close. And like everything has just gone very smoothly with that whole process ever since. And he's just been like, wow. And like also, I don't think I could have done everything that I have done if I hadn't learned the things that we've had in our classes, because I did have a lot of guidance as far as like, first of all, not everybody carries the same loans. I didn't realize that ahead of time. I didn't know that different places and different banks and different people had different loans to offer. So yeah, that was a big thing to figure out like what we could afford. And then also just knowing what to look for as far as when I go into a house, what are the big ticket items I'm looking for that aren't going to cost me a ton of money? Like what can I fix? What can't I fix? And like what's in my, I think the buy box. What's in my buy box?
Yes.
Yeah.
Determining your buy box and figuring out, okay, this works for me and this doesn't work for me. But like so many people, you know, they sit and scroll on Zillow, but they don't really know what they're looking for, and they don't really like understand what they're looking for because they haven't really determined their buy box and what to look for. And it's like you kind of have to go through that exercise. And your buy box
Yes,
changed too, right? Because at first we were looking at
drastically.
duplexes. Yeah, we were
Mhm.
looking at duplexes for you, and you were like, it doesn't work really in my area. I don't think this makes sense.
Mhm.
And it's so that's why it's so important to actually run your numbers, right? And not just look on Zillow, but actually go through and run your numbers, see what works and what doesn't work, because if it doesn't work, then you pivot to a new strategy. You know?
Mhm. Yeah. And our strategy that we're pivoting to seems to be working.
Yes.
So,
Yes, I know. You just got, so I guess tell everyone too, you know, you guys actually own the house that you're living in right now, and you're
yeah.
moving out of it and purchasing a new house. You're going to rent out your current house, and then you're going to Airbnb, like fix up the new house that you're buying. You're going to Airbnb that out and then kind of keep doing that. So yeah, like why don't you just like
Yeah.
tell everyone what your strategy is right now and where you're going with it?
So yeah, our strategy right now is to move into the new house. It's not a big fixer upper, but it's going to take some time. So our plan is to just live in it for approximately a year. And then the current house that we're in right now is ready to go. And we actually posted it on Airbnb. It just went live this morning. And so it's going to be a midterm rental because it's a 2 bed, 2 bath with a yard, 2 car garage. It's like good for smaller families, and it's not really like a vacation type home because of it being smaller and not having like a pool or any amenities or anything like that. So we're going to midterm rent this one, and then we're going to turn the other one because it's a 3 bed, 2 bath with a pool that's screened in, and it's a lot fancier. So we're going to turn it into a short-term rental. And when we move out of it, we're planning on buying a third property. We don't know what that one's going to look like, but that'll be our primary once we move out of that, the next one. And so we plan on doing it. And our goal is 5 properties in 5 years.
I love that. And what people don't realize too is that's another form of house hacking, right? Because especially if you've
I didn't
kind of got,
realize that.
yeah, and it's like especially if you've got that baked into your numbers, let's say you have that living expense, but if you're buying with the intention to rent it out later, you can still take advantage of all of those low down payment loan options. And you've got 0% down options, you've got 3% down options, 5% down options. So it's such an easy, low barrier to entry way to really stacking up properties, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, and that's what I'm super excited about because that's where I was really getting stuck. I was like, I can't afford 15 to 20% down on a vacation home or like whatever you want to call it. And so realizing that you could use these primary home loans to move into the next one and then rent out the one you've been staying in and how to like make that work was game changer.
Totally. So I guess your property that you're buying right now, how much are you buying it for? What kind of a loan are you using? And how much are you actually coming out of pocket for it?
Okay, let me think. They're all my numbers. We are buying it for 307.5, but we're getting 6,000 in seller credits. Actually, 6,750 since they are paying us for the pipes to be jetted. And then our down payment is 3.5%. I don't remember exactly what it breaks down to, but what we're having to come to close with is a little bit over 10,000.
Amazing. That's
Yeah.
freaking phenomenal. And like that's why I tell people there are people every day buying properties for $10,000, and that's what you really need to come out of pocket for.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to be financing the renovations? Are you guys DIYing it? Are you hiring? Like what
A
does that look
mixture of
like?
both. Um, so, like for instance, there's 2 sheds in the back that are really nice, and I actually have some plans to like fix them up into a cute little hangout space in one of them, because they're big metal sheds on each side of the yard, and they're kind of rusty and like need some work, but they're not like rusted through. So I have plans to sand them down and paint them, and then make one of them into like a cute little place to sit and stuff beside the pool. But and the other one's going to be for storage. But we're going to DIY that completely. We have to redo the screen around the pool, and I don't want to do that. So we're going to hire somebody to do that.
Yep.
Oh, and I'm really excited about this. I'm trying to get my husband on board, but I really want to. So you know how like pool homes, a lot of times there's a half bath that goes directly out to the pool so that you don't, So we have a laundry room that goes straight to the pool, but it's not a half bath. So I want to, like, one of my first projects, I want to convert that into a half bath and laundry room.
I love that. And are you doing those with like money out of your pocket, or are you getting like a loan to do those? How are you doing that?
So at the moment, our plan is to come out of pocket. We are actively putting money into a high yield savings constantly. So right now, our plan is to do what we can out of that. If I need to, I will look into opening the HELOC on this house because we do have a good chunk of down payment money and stuff in this home. But I'm trying to avoid doing that if I can, but we'll see. We're planning right now mostly just out of pocket.
I love that. And so the amazing thing is the house you're moving out of right now. So you're doing the midterm rental strategy. You just listed it this morning and you got renters, like potential renters, which is phenomenal. That's amazing. So this is where I tell everyone too. It's like you're even offering it at a 20% discount right now, right? Because you put it on Airbnb and you're still cash flowing on the property.
Yes.
How much are you cash flowing on it?
So at the 20% discount, we will be cash flowing about $300 a month.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I was not expecting anyone to pick up on this quickly. It's so exciting. But yeah, literally as we started the podcast, I got a message on Airbnb from someone asking to do a 4-month rental. And I was like, oh, I have to answer this. But yeah, so whenever it's at full price, we should be able to cash flow like $600 to $700 a month. And then I'm hoping to do a few discounts throughout to hopefully get people in those slower months. Because right now we are in a good part of the year for here. But if they do the full length that they're requesting, then they'll push us all the way through to the next good season. So that's good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because they asked if they could potentially extend later down the line. And that's the fun thing about midterm rentals is a lot of the time they will want to actually extend because either their contract is being extended or for whatever reason that looks like.
Fingers crossed.
I love that. And that also means you won't be coming out, you won't have overlapping mortgages, right, for your properties.
Yes. So our closing date for the new house is April 22nd. So we won't have to pay the mortgage for 2 months. And then they requested to book starting on June 1st. So there would be no overlap in our monthly payments, which would be amazing.
Amazing. We love that. Okay, Devlin, also with you. So something I thought was incredible is that, you did the giveaway for Level Up Your Listing, which is a short-term rental conference, and you won them, which I thought was literally the cosmic universe was doing something because that's kind of how I got started too, is I won tickets to a real estate conference and then you did. So I guess tell me about your experience about going to that conference and, what you got out of it.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was nice because I don't know if you've ever felt this way, felt like you were raised to think that everything was a competition with people around you. And at this, and it's been so sure, we might be all renters or have the same goal, but we're not competing with each other. We're supporting each other. So it was so supportive and everyone was just so nice and welcoming to anybody, no matter what stage they were in on their journey. And yeah, all the different speakers were phenomenal. I learned so much. And some of my favorite ones were actually the design panels and interior design stuff. That was super cool and super insightful. And then also just learning a lot about just little things for getting this property ready, for instance, what kinds of sheets I want to use, what kind of soaps I'm going to put in there and just where I'm going to get all my stuff from and how to make it consistent and how to make it special. For the people coming in, because that is what's going to matter.
Completely.
So, yeah. It was
I love
phenomenal.
That. I love that. And it really just, I remember when we were chatting about it, there's something so powerful about getting in the room with people who have similar visions and goals that you do, right? Because I don't know about you, but I remember when I was working my corporate job, I was kind of the crazy one, right? Everyone was what are you trying to do? That's kind of weird. That's the power of getting around people who have that same mission and vision and goal. It just kind of propels you to go in that direction too.
Yes, absolutely. It was, the energy was incredible.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so question for you. With your time so far within the Wanderlust Wealth Academy, what would you say has been the most impactful thing for you?
Probably the guidance on like how to take the baby steps and like set the big goal, but then also set the little goals, and like you actually keeping us accountable each week and asking us in front of everybody if we've done it or not.
I know. I'm like, I poke and prod. I will put you on the spot, but it's so important, right? Because otherwise it's so easy to just not do it, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Well, and like it's not like we're in school, like it's not a grade, you know? So it's like it's for us. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that helps a lot is like we know that everything that we're doing is for our life and for bettering our situations. So it's super helpful, but it is nice to have that like accountability. And I don't know, the group is just, it's super nice to have all of us there and like be able to talk through our different like issues or like whatever's going on. And it like, I feel like I learn about a lot from everybody and like where they are because it's
Mm-hmm.
not the same everywhere. So it's been super insightful to hear about like people all over the US buying and like what different laws there are. And like, because if we want to keep this up, like we don't want to just like stay here
Yeah.
forever. So it's been good to hear people from other areas to be like, oh, I might be interested in this area, or like, maybe not.
No, that is so freaking fair. And then for anyone who is on the fence of like joining WWA, what would you say to them?
I mean, if you let it be, it can be life changing. Like, I mean, like, if you go in and like commit to it and like really do the steps, like, you can be where you want to be so much faster than you think that
Yeah,
you're able to. Yeah.
totally. And I mean, you are like living testament of that. So many people in the coaching program are living testament of that. Whenever I hear what everyone's doing and accomplishing, I'm like, that's freaking amazing. And you're like so ahead of schedule. This is incredible.
And I've been super impressed with all the people in our group who are paying off debt super fast.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
they're making strides.
Strides. And it
Yeah.
is so hard sometimes to do that by yourself and keep yourself accountable because it's so easy to kind of keep going back to the same patterns that you're used to. So I feel like, this container kind of keeps you on track and make sure that you're doing the things that you say you like. And that's why at the beginning, the first thing I ask everyone is, what the heck do you want? Where do you want to be in the next
Yeah.
year, 5 years, 10 years, right? Because at the end of the day, this is your life. And this is a
Mm-hmm.
container to make sure that you are living out the thing that you set out to do.
Yes, yeah. And like I just can't wait because I can see it now. I'm like, okay, we're going to get to a point where like my husband and I are able to go and like play tennis at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday because that's what we feel like doing. And like we're not stuck. I mean, I'm gone for 14 hours a day, like, and then I go to the gym. So I'm really gone for like 16 hours a day. So it's just like I can see it. It's not going to be forever.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I'm so freaking proud of you. I cannot wait till you're moved into the new place. The other place is rented out. You're making strides. I'm always just so in awe and inspired by you. So thank you so much for also just giving it your all. You're just, literally perfect student. So
Thanks.
amazing. Thank you so much, Devlin. This was wonderful. Is there anything you want to say to any of the listeners?
If you want to go find me, I haven't posted any content related to the house stuff yet, but I have been recording it and I'm gonna start, I promise.
Yes.
I've been doing the recording. So yeah, if you want to go find me, at Devlin Page is my Instagram handle. That's pretty much all I use. But yeah, I'm gonna start. I have like work that I did when I painted our accent wall in the
Yes.
like bedroom. Yeah. And then I did a drain thing to make the water flow nicely, and like how I did it and all this stuff, and how we put our shed up, like all this different stuff we've been doing. So if you want to find me at Devlin Page.
I love it. I can't wait. Watching a year or two, Chip and Joanna Gaines style on social media, just posting everything.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Devlin. Have a lovely, lovely day.
You too. Bye. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to Wanderlust Wealth Show. Now, don't forget to follow the podcast, or if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you love this episode, it would literally mean the world to me if you shared this with a friend or a family member, or literally like anyone off of the street. Like right now, go ahead, share it so you don't forget, or post it on social media and make sure to tag me. I love seeing what you're listening in on and what you resonated with, and I'm just so freaking thankful for you. I'm so freaking excited for you. I love you, and don't forget, life really doesn't have to be hard.